Yep. Good morning. Thank you each and every one of you for being here with us today. We are pleased to welcome you for the next session. Today's talk is the ninth in the series to be presented by our esteemed guest speaker, Sri Hemendra Mathur. Indeed, it's an honor to have you, sir, on our Expert Speak series, which is a precursor to our intended documentary film Sankalpam, to be directed by the acclaimed filmmakers duo Sri Ajay Kanchan and Sri Mahesh Bhatt. Hemendra Mathur, he has over 25 years of experience in venture capital, management consulting, private equity, and investment banking. He has done his MBA IIM Ahmedabad, Bachelor of Engineering AGRI from Rajasthan University. He's the chairman of FICCI Task Force on Agri Startups. He is the venture partner with Bharat Innovation Fund, investing in early stage deep tech startups across sectors. He is the co-founder of Think AG, a platform for accelerating the adoption of innovations in agricultural space. He also serves as an advisor for many foundations, multilaterals, corporates, and funds with interest in investing the Indian agri startups and SMEs. He has also invested in several early-stage agri-tech and mid-sized companies in agricultural supply chain. He is an investor, board member, and advisor in many food and agri-tech startups. He's also an author who has contributed many papers on food, agribusiness, agri-startups. He's also a speaker who has addressed many conferences on agribusiness, agri-startups ecosystem. We are all happy to hear from you, sir. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Great. So first of all, thanks for this wonderful opportunity to talk to you about a topic which is very close to my heart, which is agri-tech evolution, opportunities, with a special focus on what it's going to do to the landscape of rural entrepreneurship, which we all believe is extremely important. From a livelihood perspective, from a farm economics perspective, creating jobs in areas where it is most needed. So I think that's the whole objective of today's talk. My talk will be around 30 to 45 minutes, and I'll be happy to take any questions after that, or if you want to interrupt me, that's also absolutely fine. So with that, I'll start. Are my slides moving? Can you see my next slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So what I want to cover as part of today's presentation is the Agritech journey. I've been part and parcel of it for last, I would say, 12 years now, since the Agritech version of agri innovation started. What are the critical or what are the emerging themes in the Agritech space, and I've identified 6 of them. They are not exhaustive. There are many more, but I thought to share some of the ones which are mature to some extent. And what does it mean in terms of creating a rural entrepreneurship opportunity? Then a few slides on the ecosystem, which I think is extremely critical to drive Agritech innovation ecosystem in India. And last but not the least, as an investor, as a mentor, the kind of learnings I've had from many Agritech entrepreneurs, I would like to share that as well. So starting with Agritech, I would say it started in 2010-11 when a bunch of young startups, mostly with non-agricultural background, tried to build solutions for agricultural supply chain in India. It was more of experimentation, trying to figure out what will work, what won't work. The business models were not very clear. The go-to market was confusing. But nonetheless, it kind of started. Most of the investors were impact-oriented investors. What really changed the trajectory was, I would say that happened in 2017-18 when we saw hundreds of entrepreneurs, mostly with tech background, who got into the sector and trying to build models to improve farmer access to markets, access to good quality inputs, access to data, advisory. access to institutional credit and insurance. And that really changed the whole dynamics, you know. And as we speak today, there are more than 1,200 startups in this sector in India. Investments have picked up quite a bit. Total investment till date in the sector, excluding the downstream food delivery, etc., which I don't really count in agri-tech, is about $2.5 billion. Out of that, almost $2 billion came in last 36 months. So you can see the trajectory of growth in investment into the sector. And I'm very confident that over next 10 years, we're going to attract at least $1 billion a year. So about $10 billion in next 10 years, which can really help a lot of these business model go national, international, improve penetration among farmers, and create a significant multiplier effect in terms of impacting the rural economy and creating jobs in the rural areas. Farmer adoption, to my estimate, there's no scientific study done for this, but it's about 10 to 15%, about 20 million farmers out of 150 million farmers in India. And I think there's enough headroom for improvement. And fortunately, there's a lot of tailwinds, especially the digital adoption by farmers have gone up significantly in COVID times. Number of UPI payments are increasing, number of bank branches in rural areas improving. Government of India has announced a scheme to digitize all 600,000 villages and make broadband available to all the villages in India. So I think these are very, very strong tailwinds for adoption of new technologies by farmers, because all said and done, most of the tech that we see in India is largely digital tech when it comes to agri-tech. Having said that, there is potential for deep tech, biotech, nutrition tech, processing tech, infra tech, and I'm sure they will also catch up as we go along. Another trend that we are seeing, that a lot of startups which started as focused on the Indian market are now graduating to a level where they are focusing on international markets, especially the markets which are dominated by smallholder farmers. If you look at Africa, for example, Kenya, Tanzania, Southeast Asia, countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, South Asian countries, China, I think they have very similar challenges like most of the Indian farmers. And whatever solution we're developing for India, I'm sure where they can be, they're equally applicable and relevant for some of the other markets. Likewise, we're seeing some global startups coming to Indian market and trying to build partnerships with Indian corporates and Indian startups and build their client base in India. Corporate engagement, I think that was one thing which didn't happen initially, but I think it's picked up quite a bit. Almost every corporate in the food and agri, be it a processing company, be it an agri input company, they all are open now to talk to startup, not just talk, but build pilots, build partnerships, potential for acquisitions also in time to come. So that's picked up quite a bit. Last but not the least, I think government has been extremely supportive of the sector. They realize agri-tech as one of the driver of growth of the sector. If you look at multiple budget announcements this year, like Kisan drones and promoting innovations focused on rural enterprises for digital, provide digital tools to them, logistics hubs, multimodal transport, using post offices in rural areas as bank branches. I think those are all interesting initiatives by the government of India, which can catalyze many new business models and can drive their growth. So this is just a brief summary of what's happening in Indian agri-tech. What are the key innovation themes and what does it mean for rural entrepreneurship? As I mentioned, that the access to good quality input is one key theme pursued by many startups in India to provide good quality fertilizer, seeds, agrochemicals, biopesticides, cattle feed, machinery, implements, tools to the farmer. And what is interesting in this model is it's not a vanilla selling, there's a lot of prescriptive selling. You capture a lot of data about the farm area, the hyperlocal weather, the soil profile, the soil nutrition, the soil moisture, and then you customize a package of products and services which can potentially have much better impact on productivity of the farm, right? So there's a strong element of data collection, data analytics, and build a solution which is more suited for that farm, for that crop in that particular region. And of course, there's an element of last mile logistics, there's an element of input linked credit, which are also integral part of this model. I won't go into detail of each and every startup which are listed on this slide, but yeah, I will encourage you to look at some of them, look at least their websites and learn more about the work that they're doing in this space. I think in terms of rural entrepreneurship, these models are very attuned for creating jobs, especially the last mile delivery, which I think is a complete vacuum, one large white space in my opinion. Fortunately, with improvement in road infrastructure and with better GPS access in rural areas, one can build last mile delivery logistics models. And that's where I see participation from local entrepreneurs and local youth. So I think that's one sort of specific area that I've identified when it comes to inputs. If you look at farm to fork market linkage, I think this is one theme which is picked up the most, where a lot of startups are trying to build demand driven supply chains. There's an element of demand aggregation, which can happen at institutional level from corporates like Cargill or IIM or ITC. It can happen at a HoReCa level. It can happen at a mom and pop retail store level, or it could be driven by even consumers. We are seeing direct to consumer models. So there's an element of demand aggregation and build supply chain, which is usually tech-enabled to cater to the demand. So right product, right pricing, traceability, quality assaying, quality control, inventory management, route optimization. They are all components of this market linkage models. And we are already seeing some variants, some are focused on staples, some are focused on fruits, some on vegetables. The startups which are even specializing in spices now, and very, very specialized chains, specialized focus on animal protein, like Felicia's and Fresh to Home. The startup called Resha Mandi, which is focused on silk supply chain. So we're already seeing some bit of specialization here. And interestingly, some of them also focus not on just trading the produce, but do value addition, especially on the farm. So like phosphorus technology, which does the dehydration right at the farm, right? And do secondary processing to sell to their clients. Earth Food is another example, which has set up micro-processing units on farm, which run by rural entrepreneurs and small capex, 5 to 10 lakhs, typically bank financed. You can do some bit of cold storage, what Ecozen is doing. You can do some micro warehousing for storage. So I think there are multiple farm level interventions which are possible, which can help farmer to sell products and brand instead of commodities. So I think this is one of the best way to increase farm incomes, to make farmer participate in the value chain, and also creates huge amount of opportunities for rural entrepreneurs to set up smaller units. These units have been there all the time, but the reason they never worked because the element of market linkage was missing, and the startups which are working in this space, they promise buyback of whatever is being processed and help them become more efficient. So a lot of these decentralized processing models, which were not viable, I think have become viable because of the promise of the market linkage and demand visibility. And again, as I said, opportunity for entrepreneurship, multiple opportunities. You can become an aggregator, you can become a quality assayer, you can operate a small mill, you can do a small warehouse of 1,000 tons or so. You can manage a cold room of 10 tons, 5 tons capacity, right? So, or you can manage a bulk milk cooler and stuff like that. So small interventions, but can create, and I would say there's no upper cap on the number of such units and farm level installation that we need. It could be in hundreds and thousands. or even millions, which is possible, which is a possibility, and it can also have a multiplier effect on reducing post-harvest losses and wastage. And uh, I think that so it's a great model which is disrupting the food supply chain. The next is agri fintech. I would say this is one of the recent phenomena, since the supply chain is getting digitized. The data is valuable not just for processors and input suppliers and the farmers, but also for the bankers who want to lend. The biggest challenge for banks has been capturing the data about farmer, crop profile, potential yield, harvest schedules, weather risk. And fortunately, with this digitization, bankers can get that data at a very granular level and can use that to lend very efficiently to farmers and the valuation players. And that's what we are seeing. A lot of players, including SBI, HDFC, ICICI, Axis, Yes Bank, started to partner with agri-tech companies to for farmer onboarding, for risk assessment, and also for recovery. So I think this is very interesting area. In fact, I see a lot of agri-tech who were never destined to become agri-fintech are also trying to build a fintech layer to strengthen their business model. Data advisory, I think that's a large space again. You use multiple hardware devices like drones, like satellite imagery, sensor, IoT devices. You use mobile phones to capture data, and then you build interesting analytic models on, and the output could be like farm boundary, for example, as simple as that. Crop signatures, yield assessment, quality assessment, potential yield and output assessment, and so all these data points you can capture, or you can sort of use to build interesting business models. There are solutions which also do soil testing, which is big demand in the market, are usually done by government laboratories, but there are now devices which can do the estimate of NPK, micronutrients, pH, microbial activity right at the field itself and give results within few minutes or couple of hours. So I think that space is picking up. Of course, business model wise, it's yet to be seen how this data is going to be monetized. Will farmer pay for it? Who's going to pay for it, right? So those are still, I would say, work in progress, but nonetheless, we are seeing very interesting analytics model. A lot of them is using artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. And again, I see there's an opportunity for rural entrepreneurs in terms of data collectors from the ground. They can be given a spectrometer, they can be given devices, or they can be trained how to capture data using mobile phones. Data collection through drones is going to become mainstream because government has eased the policy or have the regulatory framework for drone applications, not just for data collection, but also for pesticide spray and stuff like that. So I think that is going to create a lot of opportunity for rural youth who want to fly drones in rural area. There'll be training academies, there'll be institutions who will be specializing in training youth on how to fly drones for specific purposes, especially for agriculture. On mechanization, again, large opportunity given the fact that the farm labor is becoming expensive. It's not available many times, especially in sowing and harvesting time when it is needed the most, right? So I think Indian agriculture is bound to be mechanized, especially given the fact that a lot of Indian agriculture is feminine now, especially animal husbandry and horticulture, which are dominated by women farmers. And with new mechanical devices, I'm sure you'll see this even staple crop can potentially be managed by women farmers. And then it opens up huge opportunity for farming as a service. Typically, these equipments are few lakhs, which farmer cannot afford. So can rural entrepreneurs buy them, lease them, and provide it on a pay-per-use basis to the farmers? And that's where this whole fast opportunity exists. Of course, we need to see some successful models here, but yeah, I'm sure some startup would figure it out. Novel farming, essentially models around controlled environment agriculture like hydroponics, aquaponics, greenhouses, polyhouses, where you control a lot of parameters like uh, air quality, wind speed, temperature, humidity, so that the plant is grown in an optimal environment, uh, and you can control pest attack, you can control flooding, etc., using some of these novel farming methods. I would say still not mainstream in India, but catching up fast, and especially in COVID, we realized the need for hyper local supply chain. So I'm sure places like Bangalore, Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Pune, I think most of these cities have a lot of these structures built within a vicinity of 50 to 100 kilometers, almost replenishing or that sort of selling the produce either to mandis or directly to consumers. And in many cases also command a premium because they can be sold with a promise of quality because you're controlling the supply chain. Some of these players are also getting into D2C branding. So again, huge area. Typically, there is some upfront capex. Minimum, I think, is 10 to 15 lakhs an acre. I think there's some government subsidy, but all said and done, if there's a demand and market linkage, it's possible to scale this model. Yes, so with this, I'll come to the next slide, which is on enabling ecosystem. And here I have included, of course, startups, which I talked about. Incubators, I think incubators have played a huge role, especially CI Quit, IIM Ahmedabad, the idea NAM in Hyderabad, will grow in Bangalore, Fusar Krishi in Delhi, Venture Center in Pune, Indigram in Delhi, Preset in Hyderabad. And there are many, many more who have done a great job in incubating the startups, hand-holding them when it is needed the most. Then, of course, acceleration programs by corporates, by Government of India. I think they all played a role in supporting these innovations right at the beginning. Corporate Connects, as I mentioned, is improving, and that will also help a lot of these models to scale faster because initially they are B2B. ThinkAg, which is I would say, the platform that we have set up a few years back. I think the whole idea is to connect corporates with startups. It's done fantastically well in building that connect. I think one area which is lacking, which is the topic of the day, is how to build the village level ecosystem. How do we train FPOs, village level entrepreneurs, Krishi Vigyan Kendras, in partnering with Agritech startups? That's extremely critical to take the solution to the farmers. And of course, the digital agri stack, which Government of India is working on. So a lot of state governments are digitizing land records, and I'm sure that will also catalyze many new business models. And last but not the least, the investors. I think all said and done, we need capital for scale and growth. So that fortunately, as in 2022, it's not a challenge, but back in 2016-17, I think it was a big challenge to get good investors on board. I listed some of the incubators are doing fantastic job. I mentioned some of them already, but there is Manage, the C Camp, IIM Calcutta, NutriHub, which is doing fantastic work in millets, Startup Oasis in Jaipur, AIC, USEC in Ahmedabad. So yeah, there's absolutely great set of institution support which is there for agri-tech startups now. This is a funding chart. I haven't put 2021, but as I mentioned, 2021 was almost $1 billion of funding, which really kind of changed the trajectory. And I'm very hopeful that that trajectory will continue. And more than the investment, there's also the investor profile, which is very mainstream now. A lot of international investors who never invested in agriculture investing. We are seeing late stage deals, $150 million deals, which were not there. We are seeing good momentum at seed deals by angel networks and micro VCs. So yeah, I think all in all, pretty good visibility of investors. It's very diversified investor base than what it was maybe 5 years back. My last slide is on what what these agri-tech entrepreneurs are up to, and why I really salute them for their passion and commitment. I think few things which I have learned from them. One is the high degree of resilience. If you are in this sector, it's impossible to build business models overnight. You have to sweat it out. You have to go to villages, spend time there, talk to farmers. And they never had capital in the past. They survived almost on some small money from friends and family, angels, etc. But of course, things have changed now. But I think frugality is a common trait of a lot of these agri-tech entrepreneurs. An idea is to create value for the farmer. It's not drive scale through discount, what we see in urban e-commerce, urban fintech. I think it's all about creating value for the farmer. I think that's the core. Unit economics at farm level, at supply chain level is extremely critical for this model to succeed. As a startup, you must make money. The farmer should make money. The intermediary or the rural entrepreneur or the FPO who's taking solution to the farmer should make money. So I think it's a bit of dynamic unit economics, but extremely critical. Also, I like entrepreneurs who are not obsessed with fundraising. I think it's so important that they focus on business model and chase customers rather than chase investors. I think, of course, you need to raise money. I'm not denying that, but if you're spending 80% of your time raising money, it becomes a bit of a challenge to focus on building the model and get good customers on board. A good team composition is extremely critical. I was discussing with Suresh on this, that we need a multidisciplinary approach to solve for challenges in agriculture, right? You need data scientists, you need hydrologists, you need agronomists. So I think that because you're solving a multidimensional problem, you need to have people with different backgrounds, right? And that is extremely critical. So I think that's one area where probably we need to do some catalytic intervention, redesign a curriculum in universities. In fact, that was one of the recommendations in this budget also. And look agricultural courses from an agri-tech perspective. I think that will be really interesting, so that we have enough talent. I think talent continue to be a challenge. I must admit that we need to build more talent and pipeline for this sector. Getting a good mentor early on definitely helps. Getting good investor is always, is very critical. And last but not the least, I think it's very important to have models where you understand what it is doing at the farm level. Whether farmer is earning more, whether farmer is saving more, whether he's getting an option to sell to different buyers, whether he's getting access to good quality inputs which he never had. Is he getting access to good data at the right time? So I think combination of that which can improve farm economics. And I personally believe Indian farmer who earns like somewhere between 1.25 to 1.5 lakhs per year per hectare, the potential impact of agri-tech could be at least 20,000-30,000 rupees per hectare, which is quite substantial. So I think that's extremely critical for agri-tech to scale and succeed at the farm level. All said and done, whether you're B2B, direct to farm, or whatever model you have, the farm economics has to work. I think that's where I see a lot of focus by agri-tech entrepreneurs now, especially when the models are maturing. So with this is a small summary to end the presentation. As I personally believe that there is potential to have 10,000 startups in Indian agri-tech over the next 10 years, which can create at least 10 million jobs, right? So that's the possibility. Multiple models that will emerge, So of course, crop is one, but also around animal husbandry, ancillary industries like fisheries, beekeeping. There is no dearth of opportunity. So agri-tech to me will evolve into rural tech as it matures further. And clearly rural youth, rural women, I think they will be the driver for adoption, mass level adoption of these technologies in villages. Clearly job creation is one big impact that Agritech is going to have, but also diversification of rural income, especially the ones who are essentially crop dependent. I think they will find many more sources to earn. What we can contribute as an ecosystem, build more modules which can drive Agritech adoption, build training academies or train the trainer, build online courses. Fortunately, online education has picked up quite a bit. Reorient our university programs, build more short-term courses and stuff like that, which can help create talent at the grassroots level. I think that's extremely critical. So that's about it. With that, I'll stop sharing and happy to answer any question that you may have.
Thank you, Hemendra ji, for your wonderful presentation. Lots of facts. Each slide is rich. There's so much meat in each of those. And it takes time to digest and get into each of those things. There's a hell lot of a world by itself in each of those points that you raised. I have a specific point for you to throw some light and bring in your wisdom of being in this particular domain for a long time. There is this triangulation that people have been talking about. FPOs, which has emerged as one of the best models for the village enterprises on one hand, and then the commodity-based value chains, which can be done on a horizontal integration basis. Like you bring all the services together on a platform. And then finally, trader part, the people who can buy the goods which are created by the FPOs. So this triangulation I'm talking about, FPO on one side, the value chain people on the other, which includes all kinds of interventions. And then the trader model, who can buy the goods directly. So how this model, they say, is a good model, if at all it can emerge and can mature into a level where, there is a guaranteed market for the product which has come out from the FPOs. And there is also the part where the VC, the value chain plays here, which can earn its own revenue from this model. And finally, the traders will be able to connect it to the markets across the globe. So how far is this feasible? And if you bring in contract farming as essential element of this whole concept of the triangulation, FPO plus value chain plus the trader, how do you see whether this can emerge into a model of its own and a sustainable model at that? Are there challenges to this? Or do you foresee that this could emerge into a future kind of a model which is feasible?
Yeah, no, it's a valid point. I see a lot of these agri-tech plays, especially evolving into platform plays. We are connecting with FPOs and traders is not an option, but almost a necessity to scale, right? And it's not about bypassing traders. I think a lot of people take agri-tech or any innovation as which is trying to eliminate traders. I don't think that's going to work. How do you empower traders? How do you empower FPOs on the ground? I think that is important.
Right.
Yeah, disintermediation can happen, but not necessarily by replacing the existing participant. So I see a value in trader participation. I think they are also changing. Go to any mandi, the traders are looking for more business, more digital tools to make them efficient, to trade faster, to get financing and everything. There are models which are trader-centric models. So and of course, FPO ecosystem is concerned. I think it's still nascent as is agri-tech, I would say. And as we say, let's say, of course, on paper we have thousands of FPOs, but in practicality, there are not many FPOs scaled up, right? But if you look at FPO challenges in terms of access to market, value addition, good inputs, data advisory, I think that's what agri-tech is trying to solve. So this relationship is very, very symbiotic. There are cultural challenges of bringing them together, right? Can they talk the same language? That's one challenge. But I don't see any reason for these two ecosystems not to come together. It's, I think, high time. FPO was never a target go-to-market for a lot of startups, but they are realizing that FPOs are going to become more and more important. And it also makes them very efficient, because instead of talking to thousands of farmers, they're talking to one FPO, which may have thousands of farmers as members. So yeah, I think you'll see very interesting intersections between the three elements that you mentioned. The value chain, which I would say clearly disrupted or changed by the way new technologies are developing, and how they intersect with FPO ecosystem and the trader ecosystem. But both are very critical for a lot of these innovation to scale to a level that we all want to see.
Very nice. Thank you. And I think Mr. Elongo is there, the model village architect from Tamil Nadu. I wish to invite him to speak on this occasion. Elongo sir? Yeah. Sir, would you like to speak a few words on this occasion?
Yeah, in fact, morning, but I just time listen what's happening, what's going on. So I have to listen for some more time, then maybe 1 or 2 time meetings later, then I can talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Thank you. I think now we can open up the discussion for the rest of the people to come in. I think he's taking a call. Shortly after that, our participants can ask him questions. Thank you. Thank you, Elongo sir.
Yeah, as mentioned, now it is open for Q&A.
Hello. Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Sir, one simple question. For a startup, is it important to look for the funding first, or bootstrap and get involved and get some results, then look for the investors? Which way you suggest? I mean, the egg is first or chicken is first? It's kind of like.
Can you repeat, please?
So for a startup, what would you recommend, especially in the agriculture sector, to look for the funding first, or go with bootstrapping, then show some results, then search for funds? Which one is better?
Usually with the POC in place, I think that is better. When you have a proof of concept, I think you can approach funds. I think ideally you can incubate to begin with a good incubator, raise some money for proof of concept, and then go for a VC funding. Typically, when you have a POC ready, when you have some revenue visibility, it is easier to raise money.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, sir. I'm Shubham from co-founder of Farm Ties. So we recently started our startup, and in fact, thank you so much for your presentation. I just wanted to understand, like, what are the things you do as a part of ThinkAg?
ThinkAg is a platform where we connect a lot of startups with corporate partners who are subscriber to ThinkAg platform, stitch partnerships, and so that's one part. Secondly, we also do a lot of evangelization, pick some specific topics like post-harvest tech, digital tech, poultry tech, dairy tech, drone tech, and try and build multi-stakeholder engagement so that we can build a thesis how these models are going to scale. So I think these are, and of course we do some bit of research, we publish investment reports, some research reports which are beneficial for the ecosystem. So broadly around this is what we do.
Okay. Did you mention tag? So you are giving tags. What are these tags about?
Sorry?
No, you mentioned, right? Did you mention tag or something, or was it tech you mentioned?
Tech.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood. So okay, maybe one more question is, what are the things that are agri startup should do to raise funds? For example, what are the parameters that VCs or angels look for in a agri-tech startup?
I think initially it is more about quality of teams, how they come together, what is their background, network, chemistry, then their understanding of markets, how big is the market, what are they trying to solve, what are the pain points, etc. And of course, in 5 to 7 years, how big this company can become. I think these are the core evaluation parameters, and of course some risk assessment, what can go wrong, and how the team is prepared to handle some of the challenges that they may face. Also, as personally, I also like to see their willingness to collaborate with the ecosystem. That also becomes extremely critical. And as I said, they should be spending a lot of time in the villages. I think that's also a softer parameter, but very important for agri-tech perspective.
Right. Thank you, sir. So I'd like to add one line to the previous question about whether an entrepreneur should bootstrap or seek funding in the beginning. So I was part of one startup where I did complete bootstrap, not a single penny invested, and we generated revenue. And we were almost on the verge of raising funds, but then we discontinued that startup. And currently, I'm part of a startup where we raised fund right at the beginning itself. So it all depends. But because this time we are going asset heavy, and this time we need funds. So it's like it all depends. More depends on the nature of the startup that you are building. So just to add to the previous question's answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Anybody else from the participants?
Okay. Can we have
Hello.
the water plants, sir?
No. Just a moment. There may be others who would like to ask questions.
Yeah,
Manath?
Good morning. It was a good presentation. So, it was pretty elaborate, and I don't think I have any questions. And some Shubham has asked a few. They were very enlightening. It was a good presentation. I enjoyed it threw light on so many things. It was excellent.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
just
Manath is from
one-
ISRO, sir.
Yes.
ISRO.
Oh.
X6.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Manath.
Wonderful.
Right. So I just wanted to add one more line. I almost became emotional when you showed the last slide where you're learning from entrepreneurs. When you said frugality and one more aspect you mentioned, and even to that, I also want to add there is a hunger I've seen in my co-founder. I have that hunger myself, and I have. To whichever agri tech or agri startup founder I talk to, I see a hunger within them, because solving a problem such massive and such big without a hunger or a fire within, it's very difficult. So the kind of learning you mentioned, sir, it shows that with all humility, all you are like sharing your learning from entrepreneurs. So even at this stage, you are open to learning from the entrepreneurs. So it really touched me. Thank you so much.
They are the best teachers.
Yeah. There was one more thing that I would like to bring up in this discussion, Hemendra ji. This is about, do you already have any kind of horizontal integration that has been done in terms of, let's say there's a project coming up. I have a few people here. Mr. Milind Prabhu is there from the Konkan coast, from Malwan in Western Ghats, Ratnagiri district, no, Sindhudurg district. He's one of the farmers. They grow pepper. He's the pepper man of Maharashtra. He's evangelized pepper growing. there. So he's also there present at this point of time. So do you have any such horizontal integration value chains ready-made, which can come together as a FAAS that you were talking about, like a platform as a service for helping out any projects who would like to basically connect with you, any of the startups? Do you have any such platforms already designed as an intervention mechanism?
Yeah, in terms of platform, ThinkAg is one where one can collaborate. But if you look at the startups also, startups like Dehat and Samunati, Notera, they are becoming more like a platform where any startup can plug and play their services and products. Right?
Okay.
So the mature startups can actually go to them and become partners. If, of course, they have to figure out the way to work together. But I think most startups are opening up now. They don't want to do everything on their own. So there's a plug and play opportunity with especially with some of those mature startups who have built that level of traction, so that they can onboard services and product without too much of hassle.
Okay, so there is a kind of a maturity already existing for anyone to just join hands. That's what you're saying. Excellent. And my further question was related to the syllabus that you mentioned, some of the technologies that can really matter and that can take the interest levels of the academicians to the next level, including the students and for seeking for careers and entrepreneurship and all that. Do you have any such syllabus in your mind, or would you be in a position to come out with a syllabus so that in the film itself we could talk about such possibilities, so that anybody, academic people who are watching this film could always collaborate with us? We are planning to have a action committee for the film. There'll be a call to action as well, and definitely the film is incomplete without implementation part. So we need to actually connect the people who are interested, who want to join hands with us, to come to you and get the syllabus out of you. Will you be in a position kindly to share any such syllabus in future for various types of courses?
I can suggest in terms of what components of syllabus should look like.
Yeah.
I think we should consult the VCs of universities,
Right.
professors at the universities in terms of their ability to stitch it together and deliver on it.
Yeah, we can collaborate. I mean, we can come to you for a collaboration, right? Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Anyone else, please?
Okay, maybe we can.
Yeah, your speech was spellbinding. Nobody has got any questions now.
Thanks. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Mansa?
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Can I request you to vote of thanks, sir?
Okay. I take this opportunity once again to thank you, Mr. Hemendra Mathur, for giving us this time, your precious time. I know that your time is very precious. A lot of engagements, but you gave your time. I'm very thankful to you, and I thank all the participants today who have joined us for this meeting. And the recording will be available, of course, on YouTube shortly. And there are a lot many people who would be looking forward to this recording. Many wrote to me that they were not able to participate on this particular weekend. So they're all waiting for the recording to be published. So looking forward to collaboration with you, sir, in the areas of the film as well as the action committee, which can tie up the various elements, various layers of the ecosystem. So looking forward to working with you, sir. Thank you so much. And thanks to all the participants. On that note, we conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.